fighters out there in the women's flyweight division. And I enjoy watching all of them, but Andrew KGB Lee is really going to show that she not only belongs there, but I think she's going to show she's going to be contending for the title within the next year or so. And a very tough opponent, and I'm excited for her to take on, really tough lady in Montana Del Rosa. And I feel like not only that, it's going to be a fight that really determines, where this division's heading to. We just have, and we'll talk about later, of course, we just have Shevchenko and Carmouche announced for 125-pound division in the future. So also we're rounding out the main card here, and we'll talk about Kevin Holland and Alessio Di Chirico, which is another exciting middleweight fight. And, real quick, I just think Kevin Holland, his last performance in UFC, he did not come out with a win in his debut. Di Chirico has looked very well recently. I think this is a fight that is going to show basically, two young up-and-coming fighters that have yet to, get their footing into the UFC. Kevin Holland is 15-4. He's one of the toughest guys, I would say, to come out from the Contender Series and whatnot. Defeated Gerald Meerschaert by split decision in his last fight. That was on UFC on ESPN2. And prior to that, he did lose to Thiago Santos, right? But now he's on a 2-fight winning streak, coming off with a win against John Phillips and now Gerald Meerschaert. He is, I think he's just getting his footing in the UFC. I think he gets 3 in a row. You're definitely going to hear us talking about him. Alessio Di Chirico is another younger guy that's come into the UFC recently, and he has a record of 12-2. I think that, obviously this is going to be a fun one for the fans to tune in. I do like to see, a lot of these fighters, that we see on the Contender Series and, see them get matched up against each other. And Di Chirico is no different. I mean, he's a tough guy, and Holland's got to have his hands full with him. However, the big win was against Julian Marquez. That was a huge win for him, for Di Chirico, back in July of last year. And then prior to that, he beat on Bambos by a big win with a knockout. So I think we've seen him in the UFC. Since like the end of 2016, and now he's growing. It's gonna be a fun one. But if I have to pick, I have to go with Holland. I think Kevin Holland has just, really showed that he belongs here. After that first loss, and he had it on a short notice against Thiago Santos, right? That was a short notice fight. He's come to his own, and I think he's going to come out with a big decision victory. So that is my predictions for UFC Fight Night Greenville. Also, honorable mentions that are on the card as well. We have to talk about is Alan Crowder. He is getting his second shot at the fight. His third shot in UFC, but he has gained another chance to hopefully get the win that he wants to get. Obviously the last fight against Greg Hardy, that wasn't, how he wanted it to happen. Obviously it was a disqualification win, but he's taking on a really tough guy in Jairzinho Rozenstruik. I think that this is going to be a fun heavyweight fight. A guy who's 7-0 in Rozenstruik. And, if I had to go over, I'm not going to go over prediction for this one. All I'm going to say is tune in early because this is going to be a fun fight. We got to see Alan Crowder let the hands go against Greg Hardy. It was a fight that I may believe that he was winning, especially after that first round. I feel like that this is going to be another exciting fight. And hopefully for Alan, he's seeking his first official win in the UFC, not coming by, a disqualification. But, he's taking on a guy that's had big power, big finishes in his past couple wins in the UFC, both against McCarthy, against Junior Albani. That was his first win in the UFC. Brings a lot of power. So I'm encouraging everyone to tune in because it's going to be an exciting fight. Matt Weinman, Luis Pena, lightweight division, that's going to be exciting. Weinman is a veteran of the UFC. We've seen this guy compete here for the past 10-plus years in UFC. I think that he comes out there and he shows Luis Pena what's up. Luis Pena, of course, is a very good fighter, competing at 155 pounds. He's been on a streak lately. He's shown that he's not only, very versatile. So I think this is a fun fight for everybody to tune in. And Luis Pena, of course, 6-1, got a unique look. They call him Violent Bob Ross for a reason, trained out at American Kickboxing Academy. And I think that's what we're going to see, a very fun fight between these two. And I think that ever since he went down to featherweight division, he's looked better. And the fight with Steven Peterson, great decision. So I'll just going to keep it at that point. Going to be a fun one. Also, we've got Ashley Yoder and Suri Kondo, and that's in the women's strawweight division. Yoder with a big win over Amanda Bobby Cooper in her last fight. Suri Kondo as well is a tough opponent. So in the women's 115-pound division, this is a division full of killers. So we're really excited for that one. I think Suri Kondo coming from Japan, she's 6-2, looking to get, I think, would be her first UFC victory. I don't think she's actually won in the octagon yet. For her to get that win against Yoder, anytime you get a big win in the UFC, that's huge. Actually, she is 1-2 in the UFC. Her last loss was to Zhao Nanyan. But I think for Kondo, getting this win against Yoder, that definitely helps her out her career. Yoder is someone who's very actively on social media. We've seen a lot of her training out in Team Quest with Dan Henderson. She's she's been there before. She had 3 losses in a row, came back and defeated Amanda Bobby Cooper by split decision. So she's been there where Kondo is right now, and I think this is going to be an exciting scrap. So that's all I have for UFC Greenville. Listen, I'm excited for these fights, so tune in this Saturday night. Also, what we're going to talk about on the card is UFC Dana White Tuesday Night Contender Series results. And, after it was all said and done, we had Poniel Soriano got his punched his ticket to the UFC, defeating Jamie Pickett by unanimous decision, 30-27, 30-27, and 30-26. And, I'm going to say is Poniel Soriano, a tough guy coming out with a jet from Hawaiian guy, coming out from Jackson Wink. He is a terror, man. And although this wasn't his best fight, he did get the contract, and that was a big win for him. Also on the Cruiserweight Contender Series, Hannah Goldie defeated Callie Robbins by unanimous decision. Brendan Loughnane defeated Bill Allegio by unanimous decision. And for Brendan, although he didn't get that contract, you got to believe he's going to stay ready. Dana White said not tonight. It was some criticism that the last 10 seconds he went for a takedown in a fight he was winning, and should have, been more aggressive. Should have went for the finish, and that's going to happen. But another win for him. Yogan De Castro came in here, and he got the only finish of the evening. Huge leg kick and punches finish, 4 minutes and 45 seconds of round number 1. And listen, he got a contract from that. He is a big dude, has huge power, and very versatile too for a guy his size. And it was an exciting night of fights. So tune in for week 2. We got Altan Bowman Cunningham taking on Tony Johnson, and I just had an interview with Altan Cunningham, so you make sure to check that out as well. And last, we're going to talk about the announcement for UFC coming out to Uruguay. So UFC is going to come out to Uruguay in August, and they just announced the first fight, the main event, obviously, which is going to be a really good one. We're going to have Valentina Shevchenko fresh off her win against Liz Carmouche for the Women's Flyweight Championship. That's going to be on August 10th. They just announced it. And, Valentina's just coming off that win. She's going to go back into the octagon. 2 months later, she really didn't suffer any damage. This is going to be a rematch, which is interesting. And if you know the history between these two women, it's a rematch because of the fact that Valentina Shevchenko got cut. She got cut during the fight. It was a fight she was winning. She was really stuffing all the takedowns. She was dominating all of the round and took her down. She came in for a leg lock, and she threw her from the ground, right? And what happened is, Valentina standing up, and she caught her with an up kick. Valentina got a cut on her brow. The doctor decided to stop the fight. So that's what the controversy lies. And this was prior to the UFC. So she's the only, woman, not besides Amanda Nunes, to not only defeat Shevchenko, right? But in MMA, but she's right here, and she's knocking on her door for that 125-pound title. Carmouche was supposed to fight Roxanne Modafferi at UFC on ESPN4 next month in San Antonio, Texas, but she gets this opportunity to get this rematch and get another victory over Shevchenko. This is a fight to make. I think that a lot of people were talking about possibly the fight. The fight obviously that wasn't the most impressive victory, but another great fight that we saw part of UFC 238 to open up the prelim card was Jojo Calderwood taking on Caitlin Chukagian. And Caitlin, listen, she did good in that fight. She got the win. She has three victories, but she did lose to Carmouche at bantamweight. And that's what happens. They look at who you lost to. It doesn't matter what weight class it was. And she did lose to Carmouche at bantamweight before going on a tear in the flyweight division. So I think it's only right that Liz Carmouche gets the win, and she has two victories in a row in the women's flyweight division. But that's what happens, So I think that was the fight to make. I'm excited for that one as well. And I think Carmouche is going to come in there, and this is her second shot at a UFC championship. It might be the last one in her career. So it's going to be an exciting night of fight. So, yeah, just to talk about that and tell everybody, come out, check out Elite Amateur Fight League happening June 22nd. Team Illinois, Inferno, of course, versus the Team Arizona. And listen, it's going to be for the national championship. If you're into amateur fights, or if you're not, just come check it out, because it's going to be an exciting night of fights. And we talked to Nate Aleo. He had him on the Fight Report, so check that on the podcast soon. But that's it for this week's edition, extra Fightlete Report podcast. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in and making us one of the top shows on Chicagoland Sports Radio. And keep subscribing to Apple Podcasts, and we'll announce who's going to be on the show next week very shortly. So stay tuned. Thanks, everybody. Stay tuned.